clearly visible, and there should not
Yes.
be any confusion. Okay, so let us start with the first knowledge area for project management. It is project integration management. Even though this knowledge area comes at the beginning, comes as the opening batsman, first knowledge area, but still it is not only the starting point. This particular knowledge area, as the name indicates, it is integration management. So it is integration of all the processes, all the knowledge areas, all the process groups which are involved throughout the project life cycle for any project. Okay, so this project integration management includes what? The processes and activities to identify, define, combine, unify, and coordinate the various processes and project management activities within the project management process groups. So even if you look at the tabular format we have seen yesterday, this particular project integration management, you can see it is spread across all the project management process groups. There are certain activities in first process group, certain activities in second, certain activities in third, certain activities in fourth, and certain activity in fifth. So throughout the project, because initiating process group to closing process group, these all process groups, they are nothing but the project life cycle. They are spread across the project life cycle. And since the project integration management has at least one process, at least one activity which is corresponding to each and every process group involved for the project life cycle, that's why we can say this project integration management is spread across the project life cycle, right from the initiation to finally closing the project. So there are certain activities, certain processes, certain works which are allocated to this project integration management knowledge area, and these particular activities, they are undertaken to identify, define, combine, unify, and coordinate various processes and project management activities. So which are these processes? Develop the project charter, develop the project management plan, direct and manage the project execution, monitor and control the project work, perform integrated change control, and finally close project or phase. So you can see, even if you go for the list of processes which are listed under this project integration management, it is right from the beginning. So project charter is nothing but the first official document created for starting of your project. Right from that up to the final closure of project, so there are n number of intermediate stages. So these all stages, they will be nothing but integrated as the project integration management. So let us try to understand these all 6 processes one by one, what they exactly mean. So the first one, develop project charter. So let us try to understand first, what do you mean by a project charter? I hope you must have gone through the glossary which is given to you, and one assignment, that is assignment number 1. It has been told that whatever words you feel that these words are non-familiar to you, you don't know these words, you don't know the meaning of these words from project management perspective. So go for writing the words and their meanings, or the abbreviations and their full form or long forms in your assignment number 1. So if you have gone through the document, then you must have come across this word, that is the project charter. So how many of you have come across this word, project charter? Any one of you?
Voice was breaking, so I couldn't understand what you're trying to say.
Yes, voice is breaking. What about others? Are you able to hear me clearly? Other people? Rutuja says yes.
But
Other people are saying that they are able to hear me clearly. I think Tasmiya, there
yes.
is some network issue with your place. Might be.
Acha.
Voice is good. So I should go for.
Um,
I should change my profession and go to singing. Okay. So I think Tasmiya, just try to have good connectivity. If you can move somewhere here
yes.
and there and get good connectivity, you may be able to hear properly. So any one of you, those who were able to hear me clearly, any one of you have gone for the glossary which is given to you and try to understand the meaning of this word, that is project charter. Yes or no? If nobody has gone for, then we will not wait. We will go for understanding the things. If somebody has gone for the glossary and seen this word project charter and remembering that what it exactly means, then you can tell yes or no. No, I think no. Okay, anyway. So let us try to understand first what is the meaning of this word project charter. So project charter is nothing but it is an official document, and this document formally authorizes the existence of a project. Means if a firm wishes to undertake any particular project, they wish to start any particular project, so initially they need to come out with one official document. That document will formally authorize, formally announce that so and so project the company is going to undertake, company is going to start. And in the same document, they need to provide the name of person who will be the project manager for that particular project, and this project manager will have the authority to apply the organizational resources to carry out the project activities. So it is nothing but giving the official, like you people, those who are from HR specialization, you must be knowing this. If you are going for any recruitment process, if you take interviews, if you conduct some aptitude test, and finally you come up with some selection shortlisting of the candidates, that these are the selected candidates, unless and until you give them the offer letter, how they will believe that they have been appointed, they have been selected for the particular post? Is it possible? Is it necessary to issue the appointment letter or the offer letter, or there is no need of that letter?
No,
There is
no, we required it. Yes, there is.
one.
Yes, the letter is required. Let us say
Yes.
you go for a certain
Yes.
company for recruitment process, and if you are not issued with certain letter, you will be confused whether I have got selected or I am not selected, isn't it? If you are
Yes.
selected and simply the letter says that yes, Mr. So and so or Miss So and so, you have been selected in this and this company, is it sufficient? What things you are expecting from
Only
the
that
letter?
letter.
Yes. Yeah, somebody was saying something. Tasmiya.
Hello.
What you are expecting in that letter?
अरे यार. 1 second, 1 second.
Okay. Anybody else? If you are issued with a appointment letter, what contents you are expecting in that particular letter?
सर ज्वाइनिंग डेट क्या होगी वो मेंशन करना चाहिए.
Yes, joining date. Next. Anybody else?
सैलरी कितनी होगी वो भी मेंशन होना
Salary
चाहिए.
rates,
Salary. Okay.
designation.
Designation. Yeah, that's correct. Designation is very important. Something people from HR, you will be drafting the letters to many people in future, and people will be expecting something from you, that these things should be there. Other than salary, other than designation, other than joining date, what else? Work profile. Yes. So that is nothing but the roles and responsibilities which are
Yes.
shouldered as the particular designation demands. Is it correct? So similar to that, as that particular document is giving the designation, the salary, the joining the date, the roles and responsibilities, the location at which you are supposed to join, whether you are working on a particular project or you are working in a team, and so many things. Okay. The documents which are expected to be submitted, and anything other requirements, whether there will be, so these all things will be mentioned. So once you receive that document, you will have a sense of satisfaction that reading that document, and at the end there will be one line: if you have any queries, please feel free to contact the undersigned and get your query solved. Correct? Because reading some statements, there will be some official statements, people may not understand it, so there will be certain line that if you have any query, feel free to contact the undersigned. So likewise, if you get a letter, you feel that yes, I will be working in a good company who is having certain formal process, certain formal structure for recruitment, for HR development, for HR management. Something is there in shape. Similar to that, when you start a project, when your company wish to undertake any project, simply if you ask somebody to come to your cabin and say that yes, from tomorrow you will be appointed as project manager for so and so project, so start working on the project right from this moment, will he take that opportunity? Will he take that responsibility? No, because a project requires so many resources. It requires the various departments to combine together. The project requires a certain duration. It requires the finance. It requires a clear-cut idea that what exactly we are going to do in this project, what are the expected deliverables, who is the prospective customer for this particular project. So unless and until these things are not known to the project manager officially, not informally, he will not be able to apply his skills, his authority to the particular project. So that's why there has to be an official document which will be formally authorizing, sorry, that a particular project is going to be in existence, and Mr. So and so is going to be the project manager for this project, and he will have the authority to apply the organizational resources to the various project activities which are involved. Once this project charter, this document is issued, then the project manager will start thinking in that perspective, that developing the team, appointing the people, ordering the resources, and scheduling the various activities, coming out with the budget, coming out with the plan, the entire schedule of your project, what will be the quality checks, whether any consultants will be required, whether any companies need to be collaborated. So all these things will be started rolling out once this document is prepared and given to the project manager. Okay, so I hope that project charter concept is clear with everyone. Then developing the project management plan. Now the project manager, once he has been given the authority to apply the organization resources to project activities, he will start developing the project management plan, because the project needs to be carried out in systematic manner, and this project needs to be completed in a formal way in some standardized formats. So if you apply the project management philosophy to your project, then definitely this particular project will have more chances of having success. So that's why the project management plan has to be developed. And whenever we are developing the project management plan, we need to take into account the various activities, the various works which are to be undertaken, and the various things which are required to complete those particular work. We need to integrate all these subsidiary plans so that a comprehensive project management plan can be prepared. The project's integrated baselines and subsidiary plans, they may be included within the project management plan. So whenever we are thinking in terms of developing the project management plan, we should also think in terms of the baselines, the baseline with respect to the budget, with respect to the time, with respect to the scope, with respect to the resources. So there must be some baseline, some quality baseline, and these all things should be taken into account when we are developing the project management plan. Next is direct and manage the project work. So this is about the execution part, the process of leading and performing the work defined in project management plan. So whatever we have defined in project management plan, we have to actually go for execution. So this develop project chart is from initiation process group. Develop project management plan is in the planning process group. Direct and manage the project work, this is in the execution part. So leading and performing the work defined in project management plan and implementing the approved changes to achieve the project objective. So every time we have to take into account the objectives, final outcomes expected from the project, and if there are any changes required either in the project plan or in the execution or in the scope or in the quality process, then there has to be some implementation of the approved changes to achieve the project objectives. The next is about monitoring and control the project work. So this is in the fourth process group, monitor and control project group, process group. The process of tracking, reviewing, reporting project process progress against the performance objectives defined in the project management plan. So project management plan is also one of the most important document, because it gives you the clear-cut idea about how the things are going to be executed and what are the performance objectives for each and every process, for each and every activity, and for the entire project. So whenever we are going for monitoring and control process group, you need to always refer to the project management plan, see the performance objectives for each activity, each process. You have to track the actual execution, you have to review it, review the performance, and if there are any deviations in the performance of your activities from the objectives which have been defined, then we need to control, we need to make certain changes in your process so that the objectives will be achieved. Performing the integrated change control, that is nothing but the same, reviewing all change requests. So once we find out that certain changes are required because the process is deviating from the performance objectives, then we need to go for making the change request. On your own, you cannot go for changing the things because the change has to get reflected in all the documents. So you need to request the changes to the concerned authority. Normally there is a authority which is called as Project Management Office, PMO. So those people who are involved with the PMO will normally make all the changes in the documents, and if a certain change is made in one document, it is made sure that the same change gets reflected in all the associated documents which are dependent on that. So that's why the change has to be made in a formal way. It should not be changed at a particular level. It should be throughout the project management. The things has to get changed accordingly. Approving the changes, managing change to deliverables, organizational process assets, project documents and project management plan, and communicating their disposition. So once you make certain changes, these changes should be communicated to the respective people, respective authorities, respective departments, so that they will come to know that the change has taken place and they need to work according to the changes which have been suggested. And final is close project or phase, the process of finalizing all the activities across all the project management process groups to formally complete the phase or project. It may be a single phase or it may be the entire project. Whenever you are closing, you are finishing, you are on the verge of completing that particular phase or project, we have to make sure that all checkpoints which are to be checked at the end of the process, whether they all are getting satisfied or not. Likewise, we can say whether the results have achieved, whether the results they are as per the requirement, whether the process and the results and the testing and whatever documentation part required, whether the things have been documented, whether the outputs which are from that particular process, they have been conveyed to the next dependent process or not. So something like this. If some resources are utilized as common, whether they have been returned to the particular department so that it can be utilized for some other purpose. So these all things should be taken into account when we are going for closing the phase or the entire project. So that is the last part of our project integration management. So even though it is the first knowledge area, this knowledge area is a big umbrella and everything is under this project integration management. So the word itself, integration, so it is integration of all the process groups, or we can say it is integration of all the remaining 9 knowledge areas which are coming together as project integration management. Second knowledge area is about project scope management. So first we should know what is the scope, and then we should try to understand how to go for this project scope management. So what is your opinion? What do you mean by scope? Yes, anyone? Your feedback? What do you mean by scope? You all people are doing your final project, major project, minor project. So are you defining the scope in your project? Have you defined scope for the project what you are undertaking in this particular semester?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So what do you mean by scope? Can somebody just yeah.
In scope means that one conceptual scope, geographical scope,
Okay.
periodical scope. Oh, that scope you are talking about?
Yes.
That we mention in a project?
Means let us say if
Analytical scope.
yes, definitely. Let us say you are going for some of you is going to undertake a project that behavior of customers for some XYZ product for Konkan region. Okay. Understanding the behavior of customers of this XYZ product for Konkan region. So now if I look at the statement or the title of the project, the title itself is giving me that what is the scope of your project. One is the scope is limited to the customers of only XYZ product. You are not undertaking any other product ABC or anything else. And also you are not talking about the customers which are other than the Konkan region. So when I say Konkan region, it is only 3 to 4 districts. So that is nothing but the scope. So once I have defined the scope, then I will be coming to know that I should not take into account some ABC product because my scope is only related to XYZ product. Similarly, I should not talk to people or I should not take feedback from the people who are from Kolhapur district or from Mumbai, maybe from Satara or from Karnataka, because my scope has been already defined that I am only going to undertake the people feedback who are residing in the Konkan region. Correct? If I simply say understanding the behavior of people, and that's all, this is my project. So that will be a very vague statement. People who, which people,
Means
for what?
Hmm.
Correct? So similar to that, whenever you are going for defining the scope of your project, we should know that exactly what we are going to do and what we are not going to do. That is nothing but defining the scope. We should know what we are going to do and what we are
means
not
a
going to do.
detail. Hmm.
Correct?
A detailed outline about
Yeah,
our project, or
correct. So
what we can say, our
correct.
aspects
There
of
has to
whatever
be
our
certain
project contains.
boundary. When you define the project scope, there has to be certain boundary. So what is inside the boundary and what is outside the boundary, that as a project manager or as a project team member, you should be able to understand. If you are yourself confused with the scope of the project, then project will not get successful, because something which is not required you may be doing and something which is required may be missing. So that's why scope is a very important. The scope of project should be defined very precisely. Okay. Now let us
Yes.
try to discuss about the project scope management. What it includes? It includes the processes required to ensure that the project includes all the work required and only the work required to complete the project successfully. Correct? Just the words are very important. All the work required. So nothing should be excluded which is essential, and only the work required means we should not take something which is not required, which is unnecessary to complete the project successfully. Managing the project scope is primarily concerned with defining and controlling what is and is not included in the project. So I hope
Project.
with everyone the purpose of scope management is clear, and what is scope is also clear. The various activities which we are going to undertake in the project scope management are planning the scope management, collecting the requirements of project, defining the scope, creating the work breakdown structure, validating the scope, and controlling the scope. So let us try to understand these processes in detail. Planning the scope management, the process of creating a scope management plan that documents how the project scope will be defined, validated, and controlled. Okay. So now your project is only maybe within a group of 2 people, 3 people, 3 students. You will have a project guide. So whenever you are deciding your project, still you follow certain process. You come out with some title, your guide will check it, there will be a departmental presentation, some other people will join, they will give certain suggestions, and finally you will have your final title that my project will be so and so, I will be doing so and so work in this particular project. So there is a formal process. We should understand that who are involved in deciding the scope of your project. So similar to that, in industry also, whenever you need to define the scope, so we should understand how the project scope is going to be defined, who will be the people involved in defining the scope, how the scope will be validated, whether the defined scope is correct, whether it is missing something, or whether something is what you say unnecessary included in the scope. So there has to be some validation process, and there has to be some control. If the scope is deviating from its purpose, then how should be it should be brought back to the track. So we should have the plan scope management document will have all these things mentioned, that how the scope will be defined, how it will be validated, and how it will be controlled. Now the processes which are required for this are collecting the requirements. The requirements will be nothing but the requirements from your stakeholders, the people who are involved with the project, or the people who are having direct or indirect effect of the project outcomes. So those people, they should be contacted, and the requirements and needs to meet the project objectives it should be documented, and it should be managed. Then comes the define scope. It is a process of developing detailed description of the project and product. It may be a product, it may be a project. So it will be you will be developing a detailed description of your project or the product. Then next is creating the work breakdown structure. Once you know what is the scope of your project, you need to go on listing down all the activities which are required to achieve the final objectives of your project. Once you have your list of activities, each activity can be subdivided into smaller activities. So likewise, if you go for micro level understanding of variety of activities which are involved, then which activities will come first, which will be coming second, which can be parallel. So that is nothing but the work breakdown structure. You are breaking your work into small elements, so that if you consider a bigger work, a work which is involving many resources, huge time, number of people, then we see that the things are very complex, we may not achieve it. But once you break down that work into small elements, and then give responsibility of individual element to some people, some group of people, some project team, try to go for completion of small elements first, then combining the results and going to the next level, then it becomes easier to complete your work. So that's why the work has to be distributed, the work has to be divided into small elements, and that process is called as work breakdown structure. So that work breakdown structure has to be created so that it will be easier for the project manager or the project team to carry out the various processes. The next part is about validating the scope, the process of formalizing acceptance of the completed project deliverables. So we should have some authorities who will be validating the scope, that these are the various things which are involved in the project, these will be the expected outcomes, and whether the expected outcomes can be met if these things are undertaken. So that will be validating the project scope. And then last is about controlling the project scope. It is nothing but the process of monitoring the status of project and project scope and managing the changes to the scope baseline. So in this particular case, you are continuously monitoring the status of your project. You are trying to observe the outcomes which you are getting through the different processes or the different activities or from the project, and what was defined in the project scope statement. And if there is any need to change the scope baseline, if you feel that certain things cannot be modified at the execution level, so it is always better that we should change the scope statement itself. So some scope baseline, it should be changed, then we need to take into account that changes in the scope baseline. Then moving to the next, project time management. We always say that time is very precious. So with respect to project also, time is very precious. Why we say time is precious in the project management? Because every moment, every certain duration which is going to get added into the time of your project completion, that certain time duration which is additional will be incurring certain cost, and the time overrun or delay in your completion of project is always going to hamper the budget of your project, because there will be definitely certain additional cost which the company will be required to bear because the project is not completed in time. So we normally see, as far as the projects which are started by governments, either it may be state government or it may be the central government projects never get completed in time. They always go on delaying, and because they are delayed, the cost of project goes on increasing to multiple, you can say 1.5 times, 2 times, 3 times, whatever, against the budget which was planned at the initial phase. So time management is very essential. The various processes required to manage the timely completion of the project, that is nothing but project time management. The various activities involved are planning the schedule management, then defining the activities, sequencing the activities, estimating the activity resources as well as durations, developing the schedule, and controlling the schedule. So you can just see. Plan the schedule management. It is a process of establishing the policies, procedures, and documentation for planning, developing, managing, executing, and controlling the project schedule. So project schedule has variety of things to be done. That is planning the project schedule, developing the project schedule, managing the project schedule, executing the project schedule, and controlling the project schedule. So how these things are going to happen, that all will be explained in your plan schedule management. Then we need to define the activities. So in work breakdown structure, we have simply listed the various works and there's activities and sub activities and different elements. Now we need to define the activities properly. When we define the activities properly, we come to know that exactly what we are going to do, what are the requirements of that particular activity, how much time it is going to take, what resources will be required. So these all things will be nothing but defining the activities. Also, we'll come to know what are the interdependencies of the activity, whether the activity needs any other activity to be completed, then only we can start it. So that will help in the next step, that is sequencing the activities. So the process of identifying and documenting relationship among the project activities. So whether the activities are independent or they are dependent on each other, which activities has interrelationship with each other, what is the interrelationship, whether the resources required they are common or they can be done parallelly. So these things we should take into account when we are going for sequencing the various activities. Then estimate the activity resources, and next is estimate the activity duration. So once we have the clear-cut definition of the activity, we should estimate which resources are required. When we say about the resources can be either human resource or non-human resource. When I say non-human resource, it can be the material, it can be the equipment, it can be the transportation facility, it can be storage facility, it can be some other infrastructure required, or it can be certain permissions from government authorities, etc. So there may be a number of resources which are required to perform that particular activity. So we should be able to estimate which are the resources needed. Then estimating the activity duration. Once we know that which are the resources required, we have the clear-cut definition of the activity, we know the interdependency of the activity, we will be able to calculate or estimate the number of work periods required to complete the individual activity. Correct? When we say number of work periods, either we can define the work periods or the duration in terms of hours, it can be in terms of days, it can be in terms of shifts of your work, it can be in terms of months, or it can be in terms of weeks, or maybe for certain huge projects, the activity duration might be in terms of years. So depending upon the work, depending upon the definition of your activity and the resource requirement, the estimation of the activity will be varying right from hours to years. Then developing the schedule. Once we know the definition of the activities, the resource requirement, the sequence in which they can be executed, their interdependency, and the duration, these all things are known, we will be able to develop the schedule of the project. The sequence, duration, resource requirement, and schedule constraints, they will be included, so that the tentative schedule of the project that can be finalized. So we will be able to exactly understand the starting point of your project and the end point of your project, the deadline, the duration, how much the project is going to undertake. And then controlling the schedule, the process of monitoring the status of project activities to update the project progress and manage the changes to schedule baseline to achieve the plan. So let us say initially we consider that the project will get finished in 1 year. Let us say on 1st January, somebody started with enthusiasm that new year, first day, I will start this project, and 31st December, my project will get finished. So on paper, it sounds very good. But once you start actually executing the project, go for a variety of activities for execution, in between go on monitoring the status of your project activities and the schedule which you have prepared, then you come to know that something is not in sequence, in line with what we have decided. There is some lag. We decided that the activities will get finished in the month of April, but still it is the end of June month. Still the same activities they are going on what we have planned to complete in April. So almost 2 months we are lagging in the schedule. So if these kind of things they are coming into your observation through the monitoring, so for that purpose the monitoring has to be continuous. If the monitoring is continuous, you will be able to understand the deviation from the schedule immediately, and you can make certain changes into your process, or you will be able to manage the things to bring it back to track. But certain situations you will find that you cannot complete now the project within the decided schedule, the planned schedule. So definitely we need to change the schedule baseline. We need to change the schedule itself which has been prepared earlier, and now we will be trying to monitor the progress of the project with respect to the new schedule baseline, new schedule which is developed. So that is nothing but controlling the schedule. Next part is about project cost management. Similar to the time, cost is also very, very important aspect. Project cost management is one of the very key knowledge area in the project management process. This includes the processes involved in planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling the costs so that the project can be completed within the approved budget. So the important thing is the project should complete within the approved budget. For that purpose, whatever activities you need to carry out, these all activities will be coming under the project cost management. And these activities are nothing but what? Planning, estimating, budgeting, financing, funding, managing, and controlling the costs. So the activities which are involved in this are planning the cost management, estimating the cost, determining the budget, and controlling the cost. Okay. So let us try to understand this one by one. Planning cost management is the process. It establishes the policies, procedures, and documentation for planning, managing, expending, and controlling the project cost. So this particular document, plan cost management, this will be having the standard processes defined, which will be required to establish the processes, the procedures for expenditure, documentation for planning, managing, and expending the project cost, and also for controlling, how to control the project cost. Estimation of the cost is the process of developing approximation of monetary resources needed to complete the project activities. So when we go for estimation of the cost, we should refer to the work breakdown structure, we should refer to the project schedule, we should refer to the resource requirements of individual activity, and then try to work out the cost associated with each element of your work breakdown structure, so that if you go at the micro level, try to determine the cost estimation for individual element in the work breakdown structure, then you will be able to club it together. You will be able to consolidate to the final level, and the cost estimation which has been done at this particular with this particular process, that will be more real. It will be sounding more real. It will be very close to the actual requirements of your costing. If you simply say see at the superficial level and try to determine the costs, at the end you may be land up in a situation where the costs which have been estimated, they are not proper, they are very different from the actual cost which is incurred, and then your entire budget may get collapsed. So that's why the cost estimation should be right from the bottom to top level. You should go to the micro level, individual activity in the work breakdown structure, and from that you should come to the top level. Then determining the budget, the process of aggregating the estimated cost of individual activity or work packages to establish an authorized cost baseline. So we should be having certain cost baseline, that this is the minimum requirement for undertaking the particular process or the particular element in the work breakdown structure. The cost will be either equal to that or more than that, but less than that it is impossible to complete the work. So there has to be certain cost baseline associated with each activity, so that you will come up with certain baseline for the entire project cost, and then you can consider some 20% excess, 10% excess, 25% excess to incur some uneven processes or certain changes in the working conditions or in the market conditions. To compensate that, you can have some 25 to 30% additional cost included in your budget. Controlling the cost, the process of monitoring the status of project to update the project cost and managing the changes to the cost baseline. So again, in the monitoring and control, we should have a check on the costing which is going on, the expenditures which are going on. We should check it with the cost management plan. If the costs are increasing beyond certain level, we should take measures to bring them into the particular cost management plan level. And if at all there is no possibility to complete the works in the given or the decided cost management plan, then we should be able to change the cost baseline for that particular individual activity or for certain process. Then coming to the next, that is project quality management. Yes, anyone? Any query?
So, the determine of budget, will you please explain it again? I didn't get that point. That cost baseline something.
Which one? This 7.3?
Determine of budget. This one.
Yeah, this is
7.3, correct.
Yeah, process of aggregating the estimated cost of individual activities or work packages. Okay, so in work breakdown structure, we are breaking down the various activities into small elements. I think you have understood that work breakdown structure. A big work or a big activity, we are trying to divide into small elements. Correct. So that each element, each work package will be requiring certain cost, certain financial requirements it will be having. So at that element level, try to find out how much is the minimum cost required to complete that particular element. Likewise, we will be determining the costing for individual elements, individual activities at the micro level, and then we will be clubbing it together to find out the total budget of your project, and that is nothing but the cost baseline. When I say cost baseline, it is nothing but the minimum cost which is required to complete the project. Less than that, it is impossible, because we have gone for individual activity and how much is the minimum cost required to complete that activity, that we have determined. Then we are going for adding all these activities together, the cost incurred, and then whatever cost we are getting, that is the minimum cost required to complete the project, that we call it as a cost baseline. So that is the base, plus 25%, 30% you should add to compensate the market changes, some unforeseen activities, and that additional 25 to 30% adding, that will be your project budget. So that will be the determining budget step. Correct. And if at all in 7.4, if you find that you cannot complete the project within the minimum baseline you have decided, then sometimes you may need to change the baseline itself. So when you plan, your thinking might be different, but as you go on executing, you may find that the things were not as per the market situation. There are some differences, and our cost baseline is not appropriate. We need to modify the cost baseline. So you go for changing the cost baseline, that is controlling the cost. I hope it is clear.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. And the last part we are going to see today is about the project quality management. As we all know, similar to the cost, similar to the schedule, similar to the scope, we should also ensure that the quality of project should not get hampered. In an attempt to reduce the cost or in an attempt to complete the project in time, we should not play with the quality of your project. The quality which is expected by the customer, that has to be delivered to him. So that's why project quality management is very, very essential. What it includes, it is including the processes and activities of the performing organization that determine quality policies, objectives and responsibilities, so that project will satisfy the needs for which it was undertaken. So every project is started with some particular objective, with some quality objectives, quality standards. So we have to make sure that those quality standards will not be get affected because of anything whatever is happening inside the project. So this project quality management uses the policies and procedures to implement within the project context organization's quality management system, and as appropriate, it supports the continuous process improvement activities as undertaken on behalf of the performing organization. So every organization will have certain quality policy, certain quality management system. If you go to any industry, even if you go for variety of banks, you will find one display that is our quality policy, because nowadays most of the banks, most of the organizations, they go for the ISO certification, and when they go for ISO certification, they need to publish what is their quality policy. So that quality policy or quality management system, whatever they are having, it should be followed. And this project quality management, it should use the quality management system whatever is followed by that particular organization. Also, it should undertake that continuous improvement process, because you cannot go for changing the, or you cannot have the improvements drastic every time. Small improvements in your activities can get together, and you can observe a greater improvement in overall process. So that continuous process improvement is also essential. The activities which are to be conducted in this project quality management is quality planning, performing the quality assurance, and performing the quality control. Only 3 activities are there. So this will be normally at the completion, towards the completion of the project, because we are going for checking the quality. Planning quality management is the process of identifying quality requirements. So which quality requirements we need to satisfy, or which standards we need to satisfy for this particular project, its deliverables, and documenting how the project will demonstrate compliance with the quality requirements. Let us say you want to launch a product, you are into electronic market and you want to launch a product and you want to sell it into European countries. Then it is essential that any product which is sold in European countries, that electrical or electronic product should have CE certification. So whether our product will be satisfying those requirements of quality or those standards, that we should ensure. So that is nothing. Whenever you are starting the product development, you are into the initial phase, that time itself you should come to know that what will be, who will be your customer, where you are going to sell your project or product, and whether that needs certain certifications, certain standards, certain quality requirements. So right from the beginning, you should be able to plan that quality, that we will be achieving this particular quality in my project or in my product. Performing the quality assurance, the process of auditing the quality requirements and the results from quality control measurements to ensure that appropriate quality standards and operational definitions are used. So when we go for quality assurance, we need to conduct certain audits to check the quality requirements and what are the results from this quality control measurements. Then controlling the quality, if we find through the quality assurance that there are certain deviations in the quality standards, then the process of monitoring and recording results of executing the quality activities to assess the performance and recommend the necessary changes. So if you observe through your monitoring that the quality is deviating from the expected, then there may be requirement of certain changes in the process, in the resources, or in the testing facilities, or in the product itself. So those changes, they should be recommended and they should be documented. Okay. So today we have seen 5 project knowledge areas.